All right, welcome to video 3 of Outlook Training for Technicians. In this video set, we're going to talk about some common calls that I get from clients that call in and the basic troubleshooting I do for those people. We're going to talk about, again, broken PST files and fine-tuning and optimizing Outlook 2013 and 16, pre-booking appointment information, and spot checks I do when I first remote into a computer. So you can get to know what the problem is, their Outlook, their setup, and have all the information you need before moving ahead. So we're going to get started here now with the common calls. Number one is Outlook won't open. And let me tell you, the first trick of Outlook not opening is to restart the computer. Okay? Outlook won't open, restart the computer, sometimes that fixes it. The other thing I'm going to show you again is let's go down to your task manager, launch that up. And remember I mentioned in video 2 that Outlook right up here might actually be open 1, 2, 3, or 4 times. Go ahead and just kill the process there. And then also the click to open. So I'll go, open that now and show you as an example of how that is done here. Because Outlook not opening can be multiple problems. Multiple ones. All right, I'll close that. So now over here you can see Outlook is running. It should only have one process. In older Windows 7, it definitely can have multiple processes running. And Outlook won't open with too many going. It just needs one. And then down here for 2013 and 16 is that click to run. So you can go ahead and end that task as well. Then try launching Outlook again. That should do it. That's the easy way to do it anyway, but not always. Now let's go. I'm going to show you again here. I'll close it up. Okay, so here I have the prompt, like I told you, always keep open. So most of the time clients don't have the prompt, and what happens is they try to open up Outlook and it'll be stuck here, and I'm going to circle loading profile, okay? It'll sit there and load and load and load. And typically, this is an Outlook profile issue if that happens. Something is snagged up with an Exchange account, or Outlook had a bad update, or it's not happy. You can also have a large PST file that's kind of it's starting to show you that it's not been able to be open because it's too big. Also, a client might have moved their PST file by accident, which can happen. I've actually seen clients delete their PST files thinking they were going to give their computer more space. And they don't know what the file is, so they go ahead and blow it away. They throw it in the recycle bin, and sometimes they even delete the recycle bin. So if Outlook cannot talk to a PST file, it'll sit there and load also as well. And just remember, keep in mind, it's the broken profile. You can always test a new one. So I'm going to cancel there, and I'm going to go show you guys. Let's see, get to my control panel. Over here, if Outlook doesn't launch, remember you can open up the control panel. This is under the hood kind of stuff. Click show profiles. Now the client should only have one, but let's say there's multiple. Well, the first thing you want to do is maybe go take a peek at what the client has going on. Now I've showed you this in video 2, all my stuff. Most people usually just have a couple email accounts. And here you can see what types they have. And then you can go look at the data files. And you can just go take a peek at some of their folders, like their default one for sure, their PST data files. Just go take a peek and make sure that you're not dealing with, a monster, 20, 30 gigs. And if so, then you'll know at that point you have to probably recreate the profile. But let's go down here and close and close. Oh, come on. See? I'm trying to do something here and it won't close. And this is why I'm not going to edit out anything that happens to me, because this might happen to you. And if you're talking to a client right now while that's doing that, it's really awkward. Because they're going to be on the phone with you and they're going to say, "What happened? What'd you do?" And you're like, "Nothing. It's just Outlook. It just does that." But for the sake of time, I'm going to go to my task manager and go ahead and close it quickly. End that task. Okay. Which I would have done on a client's machine probably as well, but just didn't tell them what I was doing. Okay. So now let's say you went and looked at everything and you see what's going on. Then you can go to show profiles. We're going to create a test profile. And the reason why you create a test profile is to know if it's Outlook or the email or the PST file or something else. Generally, it's not Outlook if the test profile opens. So here we're going to, I just called it test. I'm not going to fill out any information. I'm going to hit cancel. You get this pop-up. If you want to create a profile with no emails, click OK, which we do. And now we have test. And what I do is, on a client's machine, I hit prompt, because then I have a prompt of these 5 there. And you can just hit OK. Then go launch up Outlook again. And now because you hit the prompt, it'll bypass the other profile trying to launch by default. And you can go hit test. Go hit test, hit OK. And then if you start seeing this, it generally means Outlook is going to work. And do you want to set up an Outlook to connect to an email? No. Hit next. Use Outlook without an email account. Finish. Now here you will see a brand new profile with Outlook. So we know Outlook is probably working okay. So if the Outlook will not open with this test not working, then you probably have to move to repairing Outlook. Okay? If it doesn't do this step, then we move to a repair. Generally, if this opens, you don't need to repair Outlook. Okay? So let's close this over here, and I'm going to go back to the profile here. So let's say you did the task manager, you closed Outlook, you rebooted. Those are the simple things, right? Now you can go into the profiles, and if you need to, what I generally do is create a new profile for the user, and we'll call this test 2. And I get all the information from the client, and I only download one email account, okay, like an IMAP or an Exchange. Pop to me is, the one I do last, and if they only have Pop, of course I have to do it. But easiest thing to do is hit OK here, and then go fill out the information for the client. I'm not going to do it because I'm just not going to for this exercise. Fill this out, hit next. And then once an account attaches to an IMAP or Exchange, then you can launch it up. And when it launches up, then it will start a fresh download of the email. So then you know that the other profile was just broken. The reason why we do a test for this is just to make sure that the Outlook profile will talk to the server. Okay? And I'm going to hit cancel there. So at least you'll know, and if the other profile is broken for sure, then you just have to recreate a profile for the user. One thing I'll tell you, back in 2007 and 10 that was a lot easier is the profiles did not break as much. It was something else inside that profile. But with Outlook 2013 and 16, and I used to never make new profiles for people, now it's become really the best answer because of all these snags that can happen with 13 and 16. Okay, now there's some other things that might happen with Outlook, and I will open up Outlook again. I'm going to actually put it in that test profile to show you here. So here's a couple things that Outlook, what might open, but it might give you some snags. So I'm going to take the mouse and go over to the file, and we're going to talk about the Office account right here, okay? Now this is really big with 2013 and 16 is to have an account that's activated and connected, all right? So generally, if you look over here, this is the area where you can see if the Office 365 is subscribed properly, if it's connected okay. If it will tell you if it's not activated, and at that point you have to activate it, which is generally by logging in to the online portal. Okay, because with 16 and 13, with the subscription, it does connect here, and it does show you what you bought and everything else. This up here is the account information that you are logged in with. This sometimes can be the Exchange if you have an Office 365 Business Premium or a higher, and sometimes it's not. This here cannot match this sometimes. It should match though, but I've seen it not, and it has to be straightened out. Some people have multiple accounts. They don't know what they're doing. So I really tried to talk to the clients and say, did you buy Office 365? And did you have a standalone version? It can be very complicated, but for the most part, I am logged in over here with my subscription over here. And down below here, you can see I'm connected to my OneDrive with this subscription. And I'm connected to my SharePoint with my Microsoft Exchange account. Confusing, right? Yeah. Well, anyway, let's come back over here to the update options. And over here, you can see that there are updates available. Now, should you do the updates? Yes, probably. But that might not be why Outlook isn't opening or it's a common call. But you should try to keep things updated. One of the common calls I get is Outlook is not activated. So I maybe went too far with this, but I just want to show you anyway. You do have to have Outlook activated. It really doesn't let you do much without it. Sometimes it stops you even. Another call I get, excuse me, I'm going to come up here, is in the account files. Okay. I'm actually going to close this one here and go back to my profile. And that one's fine. Now, see, I've messed around with the profiles a lot. There we go. All right. I'll delete that real quick. Okay. Now, another one is email will not send or receive. Okay, that's a big one. So let's go back into the account settings, and if an email won't send or receive, generally, it's not Exchange for the most part, but let's say it's POP, okay? So we're going to go into here, and if the client hasn't touched their settings, okay, these are standard. Go down to more settings over here, and go to the advanced, and generally this is where I go and change the incoming and outgoing server settings. Cable companies are notorious for changing these settings and not telling people. And really what happens is a client will call me and say, well, I have a cable company free email account and I can't send email now, but I can receive. I'm like, okay, well, let's go and look at the settings. And generally I just do a different outgoing here. Change it to another. The common ones are 465 over SSL or TLS over 465. They shouldn't be on SSL, but sometimes you have to play around with them. And I do. Every cable company has different settings. Gmail has different ones. Exchange does. I mean, not Exchange, sorry. But every company has their own settings. Now, there is standards here, defaults, 110 over 25. And sometimes people, you'll find maybe might change their own settings, and that's why it doesn't work, because they're trying to troubleshoot themselves. So what I do is sometimes just click Use Defaults, hit OK, test account settings. And if it starts snagging up here at Send Test and it won't green check, and it does that for a very long time, I already know that I'm going to hit Stop and go play around with the settings again. Okay? Because I already know it's not going to work. The green check should check pretty quickly. And it's not doing it, so let's go hit Stop. See, here's a good error. I cannot connect to the outgoing. So then you need to know that you can go back to the outgoing, go to Advanced. Changes to 587 is my first one. Remember I said 465 is the other. There we go. 2 green checks. Once there's 2 green checks, it means it's talking to and from. And it should then start working. Other people, though, if their email won't send and receive, it's probably because they've maxed out their server allowance for space. And or another thing that's worse is Gmail will do that if their IMAP is constantly synchronizing and it's overloaded. Real big one there. Okay, another common call I get is that email doesn't sync between Outlook, iPhone, and Android. And generally, since the iPhone and Android are getting the email directly from the server, it's probably Outlook's fault, okay? Outlook tends to get the blame for a lot of things. So if email's not synchronizing and they're using IMAP, the easiest thing to do is to test a new profile and get a fresh download from the IMAP account. And with POP, that doesn't synchronize anyway, so you'd never have that because POP is a one-way download. Another common call I get is calendar and contacts not syncing, and that is an iCloud issue. And iCloud, I'll just tell you, is very challenging to troubleshoot. I always quote people 2 hours on an iCloud job, and we're not going to be, just let you know, iCloud is its own video down the road here, but it's challenging and it's difficult. iCloud can have a lot of issues, but that is one of the common calls I get, and I upsell that to an Exchange migration many times, because if a business is using iCloud, they shouldn't be. It's a free free app, and businesses, in my opinion, should be moved on to something else. Okay, now we're gonna do a little bit more troubleshooting tips. A lot of technicians always like to try safe mode, and I will let you know that in the past probably year, I have barely needed to use the safe mode option, because I'm getting to the point where I know Outlook very well. But I will show you here. I'm gonna take the mouse and I'm gonna go down to, it's I can't show you here on my video, but it's outlook.exe /safe. Okay. Then it'll bring up a profile prompt. You can hit your test account and hit OK. And now this made it super huge, so I'll try to resize it real quick. But what safe mode does with 2013 and 16 is the same like it does with all the other versions. It turns off all the applications from starting. It cleans up really nice. I'm going to take the mouse here and go up to the file, and then down here in options, and over here in the add-ins. Now, like I said, I haven't needed to do this, but if you do and Outlook doesn't open, you can go into safe mode, and generally it's an add-on right down here. You can hit go, and it'll show you all the add-ons a client has and what you should turn off. And I'm going to tell you the first one that usually breaks the most is Team Viewer. Okay? Team Viewer and other antiviruses, I don't have any on here, but all the other applications that are like third-party ones that you don't need, you should be in here and unchecking. Okay? And this, like I said, hasn't been a big deal for me in my troubleshooting, so I don't really do it. But if you need it, it's here. Go shut everything off. Of course, keep the Exchange if they have Exchange and anything else. But most people, I think the only thing they might have would be Adobe products. That's really common that they have to have, or their PC Law or whatever else they use. But anyway, you can just hit OK and then close Outlook and test it with those add-ons shut off. Like I said, a lot of people use safe mode for a lot of other things. I generally do it just to get in to shut off those add-ins, but it's not a common call I get, but in case you need it, it's there. Okay, now in this segment we're going to talk about PST files that are broken or won't work or launch in a profile, and we have to do some repairs on it. And I work on PST repairs all the time. It's quite simple. So the first thing I'm going to show you is I have open over here the PST folder that's in my documents. Now I'm going to show you over here when you launch Outlook. Sometimes if you try to open up an Outlook, actually I'm going to show you a real life test of another, what you would see. I think this might be a little bit better for our troubleshooting. One sec, I'm going to close this. I'm going to close this here. See here, this Lisa Remote Rockstars. I'm going to cut that out, okay? Now I'm just going to go put it into a new folder over here. I'm going to call it here. And I'm going to put it over here for now, okay? So we took out this PST file. So this, you could kind of think of it this way. The client moved it, a data transfer didn't happen, something bad happened. And when you try to open up Outlook, this is the profile I had it in, and hit OK, and this PST file is not there, it should kick up an error at some point. And it's not doing it, of course. There it is. Okay, so here, this is a typical error. The file cannot be found. So that means that the PST file has been moved. Sometimes it's even broken, and usually at that point you can go look for it, and I told you about that in the searches here. But nicely here it's letting us go into here, and here I had it. You can just now reconnect it, okay? Sometimes a client moved it to another folder. Like I said, that's sometimes common, sometimes it's not. But let's close it there. And now, ooh, we got another little error, so I'm actually going to go and put it back. PST files you can move back and forth, okay? Those are easy to do, all right? Not a problem. You can just cut and paste them. They come back, and they're in their little homes, and generally if they're not too big. All right, so now we're going to talk about fixing a PST file. Now, you'll know if you have a broken PST file. It usually pops up a prompt saying you need to run the inbox repair tool. And sometimes you don't, and sometimes you can just tell it's broken because it's not working. It might not open a folder excuse me, over on the side of Outlook, it might give you this folder cannot, well, let's see. You might open something and where's the one I want to show you? Here you go. Like if this won't open, that might be a sign of, the PST file is broken because it doesn't always throw up the error. Okay. So let's close Outlook. You always want to have Outlook closed before you start any kind of a scan PST. Also, I also always make a copy of the PST file to repair. And I got to tell you why. Because if you have only one PST file and it's not backed up and you ruin it or corrupt it by trying to repair it, you can be in some trouble. So let's go show you. I got that file open there. I'm going to open up another one. Okay, so over here is my, now these are the OST files, so I'm not going to be able to do that one. Let's go over here. Okay, so let's say we're going to fix that Remote Rockstars one again, okay? So let's say this one is the broken one. So what I always do is I always right-click, I go to Copy, I go up here and make a new folder, and we're going to go Copy, okay? So then we go in here, paste it. Now we have an exact copy of it that's not attached to the profile. Okay, then we go over to the Scan PST, which with 2013 and 16, it's in a different home, by the way, than it normally is on Windows 7. It's in this Program Files, Microsoft Office 15, root, Office 15. If it's something you need to use a lot, you can throw it on the desktop. A lot of people do that. But anyway, double-click it, and you can see, oh, I've already ran it on here before. Browse to the copy, click on it, hit open, start. Now I'm going to give you a few tips on the repair, okay? If you're dealing with 2007 or 2010, repairs can take a long time, okay? Because the Outlook is different and the file structure with the PSTs it's the same, but it just runs really slow. And plus, the more gigs in the PST, the longer the repair will take. Now, I'm going to show you a couple tricks. So when you hit start, it does the phases, okay? A small PST will go really fast on Windows 10, like you saw it right there. It went super fast. Well, because you already have a copy, you don't need to make a backup copy. And this is very important with large PST files like 20, 30, 40 gigs. But the problem is that for you to make that copy, that can take a long time. But that, to me, is your safety, okay? I always make a backup copy and fix the backup, just in case. So anyway, with here, you can just say, don't make a backup because we already did that. And now the repair is complete. Well, with Windows 10, it's super fast. With 2013 and 16, everything's just really more faster. So I'm not surprised that this took no time at all for that size of file. But just remember that if you're working with a client remotely, that it can take a while, and that's when you want to manage the expectations for the client to say, now look, I need to go repair this file. But the good news is because you are repairing a copy, and if their Outlook is still working, they can still work in their Outlook while this is repairing. I did a job one time with a client that I told him this would take all day to repair, and it did. And it was awesome because I already knew the expectation of it. And at the end of the day, he sent me a chat in my software and said it's done. So that was an awesome day for him. And it actually repaired because we just let it take its time. A scan PST should not stall out, but it sometimes can. And then you just have to start the process over again. Now, if scan PST does not work, this is where we're going to go in and start talking about some internet tools that you sometimes have to get that you have to pay for, and that's because you're taking it to the next level. The scan PST sometimes doesn't do a good job, and sometimes it might even complete, but it still might not fix the broken file inside. So next up here, we're going to talk about the internet tools I use. Okay, so I have a Google search here for PST Repair Tools Outlook 2013, just to show you folks what you're going to see. Now up here is Stellar. And I can tell you that Stellar is a fairly decent company to do great repairs with, but I will tell you the downfalls of using their software. Okay, so let's, I'm not going to click on their ad, unless I have to here, which I might have to. Anyway, so we're going to click on it, and I'm going to show you the options here. So normally what I tell clients is we can try the free download right here to see if it works. And it does work, okay? The demo version they give you usually shows you all the files and all the repairs and everything, and it works great, okay? The free one is fine, but if you happen to find the files and it works, the problem is when you have to go buy it, okay? Their licensing issue is difficult because in the current one, it sometimes won't let you register, and I tell you that Stellar's email support is great, but their software won't let you register it, and it's really frustrating for me. So this is why I quit using this product on a day-to-day basis. What I do use is this nucleus here, the kernel, and this one I find awesome, okay? So what the cool thing is about kernel, and you can download it and run the demo version, and it'll show you the files and everything. And then if you see the files and you want them, then you can go buy it, and they give you a completely new download, which is unfortunate. You have to run the repair again, but that happens with Stellar sometimes as well too, because of their licensing issue, and it's horrible. So either way, be prepared when you're going to use a PST recovery tool that you're going to probably have to run it once and then probably run it again. And if you don't, you get lucky, but usually you have to. And that's when I give the clients the expectation of time again. And I've actually had to run these tools for 1 to 3 days. And I'm not even kidding. Those larger PST files that are really, corrupted take that much time. So these are the two I generally use the most. But you do want to be careful when you do Google for things, because some products I haven't tested. I don't rely on them. There's really not all that many out there, it's seeming, here in the search that I can see. But I try to stick with the two I like and enjoy. And if you have one that you use, feel free to shoot me an email or add it to the Facebook group to let people know. But I try to stick with the two I work with the most that are I'd say reliable for me. Okay, now we're going to talk about some more PST issues. Is the one thing that technicians sometimes like to do is they like to merge or split files with tools. And I'm just going to let you folks know that I don't do anything that I can't control, okay? I would rather take the time and do it by hand so I know where the data is. And the clients really appreciate that, because the way I manage their mail is a little unique because I've learned just from past experiences. So I'm going to show you here. Let's just take this remote Rockstars again, this inbox here. Let's just pretend that this has 111,000 emails, okay? It's going to have a lot. And their sent items is probably going to have the same, and their deleted items. So sometimes after you repair a PST file, you still have to deal with it being the big size it is even after it got fixed, okay? So one of the tricks I do, I'm going to go ahead and close all these, is I create a new PST file, and I'll show you down here. We're going to call this one. This is what I do for my clients, is I actually name the PST file. I look back into how long of email they've had, what years, and sometimes I say 2005 to 2010. Okay, email. This is exactly what I do, is I go and name the years for the PST files. Now, just a tip is 2005, nobody got as much email as they do now. So 2010 is where email really started to get out of control. So this is pretty safe to start with the real basic 5 years there. And this is if people have 12 years back of email, which sometimes they do. So what you want to do is just create that local PST file. And it's right here. And what I do is I create a new folder and call it inbox. And then deleted's already there. And I make one called sent. Okay. And then I go up to the PST file that's been repaired, or it's working, but it's just almost about to explode. And I scroll down to the very bottom of all the years, and I start grabbing mail. Okay? I shift control, I right click, say move, and then I move it to, hold on, sorry about that. I move it to the folder I just made. So if it's a sent, you move it to the sent one. If it's the inbox, you move it to the inbox. This is a real little quick shortcut here. But if you're in 2013 or 16, I'll let you know that you can grab thousands of emails. It's so fast now, especially on Windows 10. If you're on Windows 7, or Outlook 2007 or 10, you cannot grab thousands. It is a slow, tedious process with 2007 and 10. And that's when I tell the clients again, well, if you're on those versions, it's going to take you a very long time to move the mail out of the current PST to a new, safer one. Okay? But let's just grab a few here just to show you. We're going to move it to the inbox. Okay? So now down here in the local PST is these emails we just moved. All right? So actually, if you're doing a PST rework, I call it, it can take a day. It can take half a day. It's a long job. But basically what I do is I just move mail and I just click and move a bunch and come back and do it again later. And that's how I have to do it. But I always recommend you sort it by years. Clients will enjoy that. And you also then know your work. So when you help them again. And plus, the nice thing is once you get this all done, you can go up to File, Account Settings. And people don't need to view this after you've done it. They really don't. So sometimes I show them how to open this file up if they had to, but unless they're searching back 12 years for something, they don't need this in their Outlook clogging up their file folder structure. So at that point, you could just remove it, and now it's gone. And if you want to give them a quick tutorial how to open it again, that'll be very helpful for them. Okay, now we're going to move into what I call the fine-tuning and optimizing of Outlook, which I do for almost every client. So think of it this way. When you go to the dentist and they give you that little, cleaning before they do the work, that's kind of like a little bonus, type thing. Here's what I do for people immediately on 2013 or 16 is I go to the file up here, go down to Options, go down to Trust Center. I always come here first. Trust Center again, and then I always uncheck Don't Download Pictures. Almost every one of my clients that has the red X in their Outlook, they want the pictures. They just didn't know how to turn on the button. Okay? You can always ask them, but most of them don't even know how to do it, so they just don't care. But anyway, I would uncheck that, and then got to go back to this window and go back to Add-ins. Then down here is the COM add-ins. And hit go, and I actually go and check to see what they have going on. Antivirus programs, here's what I tell people, as a rule, are on the computer, okay? That's fine. To have an email plugin for it's fine unless it breaks, okay? That's when I tell people if it breaks, then you have to uncheck the plugin. And normally antivirus companies aren't going to work hard to troubleshoot that for you. So the best thing you can do is just go in here and uncheck it. I also uncheck everything that the client does not need. Like here, this VBA snuck in on mine, okay? But I basically ask them what they need, and I uncheck everything and hit OK. A add-in can break and cause Outlook to have problems, all right? But it's usually TeamViewer and the antivirus. Okay, those are the pictures and the add-ons, and then here in Options again, go to Advanced. And then down here, go down to Display. Okay, so now here, by default, this is usually unchecked, okay? What I do for people is I check that box right away, and down here, I uncheck Use Animations. Okay, so I keep that checked, I uncheck that. The 2013, a few years ago, started having a lot of graphics issues, and I kept finding that having this disabled was very helpful to keep Outlook flowing nicely. The graphics worked much better with this disabled. This down here, Use Animations, is actually a little tiny glitch in Outlook that can make black flashes happen. And I tell you, I spent a few hours troubleshooting that for a client to find out it was just this animation thing. So I just always do that in my tune-up or my optimizing. Okay, and then I hit OK, and then I go to File. And one last thing here for Microsoft users with Exchange, which a lot of people don't know, is if you come over here to their Exchange account, sometimes their slider doesn't have all their mail. And I think that a lot of people, they have search issues, so they want all their mail. So I slide it over. And when you do that, that's fine. You can hit Next. And mine's already there, so I'm going to hit Cancel. But then you have to close Outlook. And then you close Outlook, and then it has to go get all the mail from the server and get it into Outlook. Now, if you ask your client, do you want all your mail? They will probably say yes, okay? And if they don't, then they're like, no, that's okay, then don't do it. Because their email has to download, And that can take some time also, but it is a one-time thing. And generally, most of my clients do want all their mail with them when they're going around and traveling and whatnot. And you also want to, at the end of each job you do with Outlook, is kind of like when you're when you're troubleshooting a Windows problem and you're giving the client back their machine, you do want to go to File, Exit, close Outlook in front of them. It's kind of a last hurrah, and then launch it up again and make sure everything works. Okay, that's what I always do for each job. Is I close and then make sure it opens and everything's great and groovy, because if you don't, they will call back probably 10 minutes later saying something's wrong, and you don't want to have that problem. And here's just a couple last parts I do when I fine-tune optimize. Is you can go up to their address book and make sure that their addresses are there. That's just a nice little thing. You can also make sure their views are correct, because they will call you back if the view is wrong, especially if you've been troubleshooting. So the views up here, I go over to the reading pane, make sure it matches what they had before, and I make sure that their folder pane had their favorites and everything else that they wanted, because, like I said, whatever is not perfect, they will call you back. And I always try to have perfect jobs. I know it's really probably a laughable thing to say, but I really try to do that. All right, for this segment of the video, I'm not going to be showing anything. I'm just going to be talking. So this is audio only with a little video there of just my screen. So we're going to talk about the pre-booking appointment information. Now, my jobs I take in are a little bit different, and I have a different interview for each client based upon what they tell me. Generally, clients call me, and I'm an Outlook expert, so they just start telling me their problems. I can't even stop them sometimes because they know they've got an expert in their hands. But for you, if you're not marketing Outlook yet and you're just taking calls from current clients or maybe a new client, and you're new to troubleshooting Outlook, here's a list that I'm going to tell you that might be good for you to start figuring out if you can help the client or not, or what to expect. And especially what's important is quoting a client on the time to do the job. Because generally, the quick calls I get in Outlook are very rare. Okay, I get the deeper, hardcore troubleshooting ones. So the first thing you want to do is let them talk for a little bit to explain what happened. And you can take notes. I always do that in my notepad. I try to write down as much as they're telling me, so then afterwards I can do a quick review. And I always try to ask them, when did this problem happen? Okay, and write that down. Sometimes they say, well, I was traveling and I was at an airport and now something broke. Well, when people travel, their port settings can sometimes get changed, or their internet connection, or things like that. So take that note down. I also ask, did you notice a Windows or Office update? That's really important, because that'll help you troubleshoot the issue as well. How long ago did this start happening? Now, some clients will say, it just happened now, and some will say, well, it's been going on since last year. So that'll kind of give you an idea of how to troubleshoot that as well. You should also ask if they're backing up. Now, most clients are going to say, I don't know. I don't back up, and the last time I backed up was last year. So that gives you an idea. And first of all, if you sell backup plans, to put them on your backup plan, and that's a good upsell for you. And second of all is that you should be backing up their PST files then before you do any PST work. And that can be time, and the job might go longer. So then you can manage the expectation with the client from the get-go and be like, well, this might take a long time, and here's what the build time might be, or whatever. A lot of people are using cloud-based now. Okay, so they're using cloud-based iCloud or hotmail.com. And if you can ask as many questions about that without getting them confused, they don't even know sometimes. Okay, I'll be fair. They don't even know what's going on. They got it set up by their kid or their nephew, and they don't know what's even going on. And this can happen frequently with iCloud, with iPhones, and with iTunes. You can also try to ask them what version of Outlook they're using. And you know what? They hardly ever know. So I always tell them, okay, look, open up your Outlook. Does it look blue or more orange? Okay, that's a good way for you to get an idea. If they say it's orange, then it's either 2007, 2003, which hopefully not 2003 anymore, or 2010. And if they say it's more blue, then they're using 2013 or 16. And if you really want to get into it, you can ask them if they have the light bulb at the top of their Outlook, and if they do, it's 16, if not 2013. And that just can guide you because I told you 2016 is really snaggy, okay? It breaks too much, and that will just give you the expectation. You can you can actually ask them also, what email type are you using? POP, IMAP, Exchange. Some clients know, some clients don't have any idea. But at least if you ask these questions, they know that you might have more experience then. You're doing a good interview job, okay? And so if you feel after all the questions that you've asked them that it might be too complicated for you to try to figure it out, that's why we have the Facebook group for everybody that's that everybody that's purchased this. So you can go to the Facebook group and take your notes and try to maybe get help from the group. I'll be in the group as well. And if it's a job that you're like, oh my God, this is nuts, I don't even want to try it, that's when you can refer a job to me. And I'm not making these videos to get referral work, but the point is I can maybe help you and remote it and help you learn it with the client so then you can learn. I do bill for that time, but the point is that you want to start taking on these jobs and you have to learn it and you might need coaching, okay? So don't be afraid. You got to start moving ahead. I'll tell you that the very first Microsoft migration I did, I was very nerve-wracked and I needed coaching through my first one. So once you do one, it gets better. Okay. Now I'm actually going to get back to the screen sharing here, and I'm going to show you some pre-spot work check things I do when I remote into a computer, okay? So years ago, I used to not do this, but then I found it really made sense for me to do this because it's kind of like a doctor. When you go to the doctor and they do like a quick exam, then they know what they're going to be dealing with. The same thing here goes for Outlook. Okay, so the first thing I do is go check their version. Remember I told you the tips here. You can see that I have 2013 because I don't have the light bulb, okay? In 2007 and 10, at the top, I believe it says about, and you can go look at the exact version. And if you don't know, we'll open up the control panel here. I will show you programs and features. You can go to their Microsoft. And if they've got 2007, it'll say 2007. If they've got 2010, it'll say 2010, 2003 also. But with the Office 365, it doesn't tell you. See that? It just says that. It doesn't tell you what version, what they have installed, any of that. So this is why the little trick of the light bulb at the top is really good. Then you know. Okay, the first thing I do in my spot check is I go to the file and the account settings, and I showed you this in the second video. I go get a scope, I take the screenshot, I go to the data files, take the screenshot over here as well. Then I have all the information there I need. Okay, and then I also, with the person who's having the issue, the mailbox that's having the issue, I go over to the folder, data file properties, check the folder size, and write that down. I write down all these notes too, folks. And then I go to the data file, go to the advanced. Sometimes this is faster to do this. Then go to the Explorer and go check over here the file size, remote rockstars, just to make sure they're very similar, because like I said before, if they're very different in size, you know that's the culprit of the problem probably. Let's see here. Check the mailbox size. Then I go check to make sure that the files are OST files, or back in the accounts here, over here. Just go take a peek to see if they're OST files or PST files, because sometimes with the older 2007 and 10, they were actually all PST files back then, okay? Then I also go over to the file and go to options, and I go to add-ins, and I go over here and go see what they have in here. Sometimes you're going to see every single thing you've ever imagined. They've installed it all. And this is just good for you to, when you're troubleshooting, to know what they have. And then finally, I go down to the calendar and the people. And I'm not going to open these up, but I go look at their calendar. And if I'm working with the calendar, remember, I make a backup of it, because that's really important that if you're going to be working, you do the backup. And the calendar and context generally don't take much time to do. But if it is connected to an OST file, just back it up real quick. Save yourself the hassle, because you might need it in the future. Okay, well, that's going to kind of end our pre-spot checklist I do with folks. That's kind of it. Then I can get going on the troubleshooting and things that I do. And like I said, there's no simple way to fix Outlook. That's why these videos might seem confusing. I might seem to jump around a lot, but I'm doing my best to put these all together for you folks. And I put this in the notes when you first purchase the videos. Is now that we're at the end of video 3, is you might want to watch these once and then go back and watch them again. And if you do notice in the next few videos that you're like, oh, that's a piece I want to remember, just make sure to write down what video it was and the time frame of it and make your own little notes, because some people are going to be watching this and they're going to be like, oh, I know all this already, but there was a good nugget, because everybody's knowledge of Outlook is different. So make sure you write down the video you saw it and the time so you can come reference it for next time. All right, that's it for video 3 here. I'm going to close up and we will be on to video 4 next.